Welcome to the True Colours podcast, where we share our views on life, relationships, and culture, exploring big questions and providing simple answers to them, with your hosts, Jay Claire and Sally Olver.
And we're back for another episode of True Colours. Hello, Sally.
Good evening, Jason. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm
How's
looking
your week?
It's been good. It's been good. Yeah.
It has been a positive week for you. You've had a couple of wins. We're not going to discuss them here, but you've had a good week.
Yeah.
It's been good for you.
I can't. So unfortunately, I can't say the same for yourself. You've been going through a
Thanks,
rough
mate. Well, do you know what? It's interesting because yes, it's been a challenging week to say the least, but interesting that our topic of discussion today kind of, we're going to explore. Yeah, we're going to explore how our life situations impact our happiness.
So, but broad strokes.
Broad strokes. So the theme of today, or the topic of today, the overarching topic for today is the art of happiness. And it's a topic you and I discuss frequently. We try and unpack happiness and what it means to be happy, and is there such a thing as happy? Is happy a real thing? Is it a myth? Is the pursuit of happiness really the meaning of life? Lots to talk about. I think it's a great topic for us to tackle tonight. If you're up for it, friend.
I'm up for it. Are we breaking this down? Are we breaking this down in any specific way?
We are. We are. So, yep. So, as mentioned, our overarching theme is the art of happiness, and in that, we're going to ask 4 questions to each other. We're going to discuss 4 things that that challenges our ideas or society's ideas of what happiness actually is. So,
cool.
Yeah.
I'm pumped.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready if you are.
Yeah, let's
jump straight in.
Yeah, jump straight in.
Let's jump straight in. All right. Okay, so awesome topic. I'm so glad we're doing this. So first question, it's a great question, and it's really interesting to hear different perspectives on this, a very simple question. Well, seemingly simple question. It's actually a big question. What is happiness, Jay? What is happiness?
Oh, happiness is, I think, a feeling of being satisfied.
Yep.
You're content. You don't have many worries in the well. You can be worried about stuff, but those worries are just things that those things can just happen in life. But I think happiness is finding a state where you're satisfied and you're just comfortable in yourself. Your environment itself. I think external implication, external factors have a playing on that. So my greatest example for me when it came to happiness, something that really played on my mind and what happiness is financial stress. And I can't tell you how much.
That's a good one. That's good.
I can't tell you how much of a thing that impacts the way I feel, predominantly how happy I am, because that stress is, I think, a stress which can make any person feel a little unwary, a little bit unsure of themselves, which leads to, not feeling the best.
That's a really good point. So I ask you then, that's really interesting, because I ask you then, my question to you is, so if you weren't in the financial situation that you were in,
Mm.
would you still be happy?
That's interesting.
Isn't
I
it?
I love that idea of
It is really interesting.
money can't buy happiness.
I don't
But
agree with that.
I
I don't agree with that.
got a secret for you. I got a secret for you. Whoever made up that saying was poor.
So poor.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
Well, it doesn't bring sadness, that's for sure. Yeah, well, question. If you weren't in the financial, if you didn't have financial security, would you still be happy?
Well, I go back to a time in life where, all right, here's the worst moment of my life, the worst string of things happening. So I think we spoke about last week how in friendship, the things that bring us together, and you mentioned that we'd lost 2 close friends to us. And on the last one, my friend Andrew, who passed now, I think that's 5 or 6 years ago now. Seems so. So that happened. And then the day after doing the eulogy at his funeral, I went into work, had no idea. Do you know the story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, tell.
So,
yeah. Oh my gosh. Go tell.
Yeah. So I go into work the day after my best mate's funeral, after doing a eulogy, which I just had the most full-on experience in my life. And then the next day I go to work. My boss in the afternoon is like, "Oh, hey, can we just grab you for? Can we just grab you for a minute?" And I thought she was gonna be like, "Hey,
are you doing
everything
okay?
Yep. Is everything okay? Is everything all right?" And the first thing that she says to me, I'll never forget it. She's like, "So this is our HR person here. She's in this meeting today because this is official notice that the position that you're currently in is being made redundant." And I was like, "Huh? What? This is not what I thought was happening."
That was bad. Yeah, that was really bad.
That was the day.
That was horrible. Yeah,
and then
I remember that.
I got my letter and I was like really pissed off. And then I had like this redundancy payout, which was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm not as angry anymore." But that's
all is forgiven.
but I've already put on the frustrated look that I couldn't be like, well, thanks for that. But it was shit. I was losing my job. It was really tough. So whilst there was that sort of financial side of it, it was still, so I need to find another job. Not that I've had problems with doing that in the past.
And you're grieving. You're in a season of grieving as well.
So that happened, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, Annie's working, no problems. I'm gonna live it up for a while and just get over my friend passing." And wait, and then 5 days later she comes back and she calls me. I think she called me.
I'll never forget it.
She's like, "You're not gonna believe it." I'm like,
"Oh, I know."
She's like, "My position's been made redundant too," and I'm like, how could this even happen? Like, it just was the first time I'd ever felt like I was in some weird kind of twilight zone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does this? So the whole idea of things come in threes, it well and truly did. So what I'm trying to say is that all of that happening led to where I am today. So the way of looking at it is that what we decided to do was like start our own business. We were doing our own thing. We were spending lots of time together. It was really cool. So
it was a cool season. It was good.
And then it spawned my entry into sort of digital marketing, and things have just gone from there. So I guess while those times were tough, and I felt like unhappy at those times, I think that level of unhappiness is to realize that it's not a constant thing. So so I think that's how I externalize trying to be happy, to try and understand that you're not going to be happy all the time, but to embrace the times that you are. So, yeah, so I think that's my biggest example of saying how even through unhappiness, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. So,
Sure.
what about you?
Yeah. Look, I think I've come the closest I am to understanding what happiness is. Like the older I get, the clearer it becomes for me, right? I think that I feel that happiness is an emotion, and I feel like as human beings we have the gamut of emotion, and no one's getting out of that. No one is free of sadness, grief, anger, what we refer to as negative emotions, where I don't know if they're negative per se. I think they're just, part of being a human being. Um, I think for me, the pursuit of happiness is dangerous because what I don't like, I think in recent times there's been this big sort of this movement on how to be happy. This is how you're happy, and be happy, and all these sort of positive messages, which is great. But I think if you don't have a good understanding about the human condition, that can be very dangerous, because people fall into this this mindset where they think that they are led to believe that, well, okay, so if something happens and you're sad, right? So for example, you were made redundant. That is reason for you to go, you know what, I'm upset about that. Like, I didn't see that coming. I'm surprised. I'm angry. I'm frustrated, whatever, right? But if you are so wedded to this pursuit of happiness, and in that moment you're like, no, I need to be happy, I need to think of the positive, I need to da, 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 and you're constantly kind of building yourself up. I think that borders on delusion, and that's only going to come out more later. I think it's so much more healthy for someone to say, in this moment, I'm actually not happy. In this moment, I feel frustrated. In this moment, I'm grieving. In this moment, I'm really ticked off at this person who's treated me badly. In this moment, I'm offended. I think when we just verbalize it, own it, and take it for what it is and not judge it, it's going to go quicker. But I think if we're so wedded to going, no, we're happy, everything's great, you're setting yourself up for failure, because it that's going to come out, and you don't want it to come out in the wrong space. Do you know what I mean? You're better off just going, I'm having a day, like, as you know, Jason, I've had an awful week this week. Better off just going, you know what, I'm having a day. I need to have that day. I need to feel all of what I'm feeling, and then it passes quicker than if you just go, oh no, I'm great, and you're lying to yourself, you're lying to everyone else. I mean, who could be bothered? That's exhausting, I think. I think it's not about the pursuit of happiness. I think it's the pursuit of wholeness. I think we need to aim for being whole, and what that means is full acceptance of all responses and emotions. The real skill is how you deal with those emotions. So if you're so you get told you're redundant, and then you punch your HR lady in the face, not wise, right? But if you go away and go, you know what, Sal, this is what you did anyway, you are not going to believe what just happened. We talk it through, whatever, and you've got a trusted person to sit through that emotion with you. You work through it, and then, and I think I learned that, having autistic kids as well, they have big emotions. So you can't constantly, not even just autistic kids, any kid, you can't tell a child constantly, don't be angry, don't be sad, you're telling them not to be human. What you need to be doing is saying, you're feeling really upset about that. Let's have a discussion about it. So, for example, my rule in my house is I might have talked about it on another episode, but my rule in my house is you are allowed to have every single emotion as long as you're not disrespectful. So if you're angry at me, if you're frustrated at me, if you're like whatever, that's cool, but you need to talk to me about it. Disrespectful, that's off the cards. But let's talk it through. And that's a long-winded way of saying I think if we are setting an example for our kids or for anyone that happiness is the only way, I think it's dangerous.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I don't think it's.
I think as the human condition is about experiencing a multitude of emotions. So
100%.
the whole idea that we're supposed to be in this sense of nirvana and happy all the time, it's just unrealistic. To your point,
I think it's dangerous. I think it's not good mental health. And so when the initial question was, what is happiness? I think what happiness is being at peace come what may. That's what happy is. Happy isn't smiling and joy necessarily. I think that's an emotion in itself. I think happiness, what people are really looking for is peace within themselves.
Yeah. So that's what I meant by the
acceptance,
a
being
sense of
accepting,
satisfied.
Yes.
Almost not complacent, content. Sorry, is the word I'm looking. Content with life. Things are just. I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm just life's happening.
Life's happening, and I'm good, and I'm secure within myself. I'm good and secure in the person that I am. So come what may, happy situations or not so happy situations, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I think that is true happiness.
Yeah, I agree. I
think that's true happiness.
And I think learning to when you are, and this is an interesting topic because mental health, happiness, unhappiness. What's doing unhappiness and depression are totally two different things, right? That's one's clinical and one's an emotion. So and I think that's the thing that a lot of people get confused. So what I like to think is someone who thankfully hasn't had to deal with much mental health issues in the past. I feel like I have a privilege of being able to regulate specifically how I feel. It's hard to explain. So if I'm feeling unhappy or down, if I go and watch some ridiculous stand-up that I haven't watched in ages, it'll turn my feelings right around, right?
That's an excellent point. So that's how you know that if you're you're actually having a sad emotional response, because if you're depressed, you would watch the same thing and it would have no effect on you. You can't find joy in that. So yeah, that's a really good distinction. It's good. It's good.
I think and this is again without any disrespect with people with mental health issues, is I think if you don't have that in the background, so you're just a person who doesn't have a mental health problem, it's really, in my opinion, it just goes to show you how ridiculous it then is to mope about, or it's okay to mope about, but that first world problem kind of shit.
You know what? I think moping's fine. I think ongoing moping is the problem.
That guy who didn't make my burger properly, I just can't stand it. I said no pineapple, man. No pineapple.
No pineapple! Pineapple should be eaten alone and cold and fresh.
Yeah.
We're tropical, we know this. Mate, that was a good intro. I like that.
Yeah.
That was some meat
Happiness.
right there. Yeah.
Happiness.
Oh, I haven't heard that in a while. So, question number 2. Oh, I love this question. This is so
Mm.
good. So, Jason, question number 2. Can I ask you, is your
Mhm. Yeah.
I know the answer to this. That's why I'm laughing. Sorry, listeners. Jason, is your happiness dependent on yourself or on others?
Yeah. Predominantly myself and my wife. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. And Lucy and
Uh,
me. All right. And
Oh, yeah,
maybe, yeah.
like I used
I
to
would.
care a little bit, but like I was telling you how I, I read that book. Did I tell you about that? How those edgy books with the F words in them now, the subtle
Oh,
art of
yeah.
not giving an F. And I was like,
Right. There's a lot of those at the moment.
yeah, they're like, yeah, get your mind un-effed, and it's like, oh, these guys are so edgy. They're using the F word. Ooh. But people buy that stuff, right? But I
Yeah.
was reading this book, so the subtle art of not giving an F, and I was like, all right, I'm reading it. I'm like, where's the part where they teach you not to give a crap? And I'm already past that level of not giving. So I was reading. I'm like, I think I actually
I would say
don't
that you
give enough
didn't
Fs.
since the day I met you. I can't remember one time. You. That's why I said to you, man. I said to you, like, if I've ever got a problem, you're the last person I'm coming to. Like, if someone hurts me, I'm not coming to you for advice, man. You just be like, nah, cut them off.
True story. But
Yeah.
Annie, my lovely wife, once said to me that I'm the most unempathetic person she's ever met. And I was like,
Did she say that?
yeah, and I was like, and in my head, I'm like, I think she's right.
She's very wise, that Annie. Props to you, Annie. Yeah, well, look, I've discovered something really, really quite big for me. I don't mind discussing it. I don't think it's, yeah, I don't mind discussing it. And maybe it's something that we can go into more on another episode because it's quite complex. But Jason, you've known me for 20 years plus, and you would attest to the fact that my happiness was very dependent on, you know, the approval of others for a really, really, really long time. And there's still, you know, residual parts of that that I'm working on, and I'm getting better at working on that because of, you know, recent things that I've been through this year, and through research and sort of like putting myself under the microscope and going, you know, why do I do that? Like, why am I such a people pleaser? Why can't I just, you know, sort of stand up for myself and um, um, not rely on someone else's yes or no about me to, oh, love the flanny. Where'd you get that?
Tiger's funny.
That's amazing. Sorry, listeners. We're just having a flanny. I've got a bit of flanny envy happening at the moment. That's dope, man. I like that. So yeah, and so I did some research and I looked into it, and you know, like I said, we couldn't talk about it in further detail, but there's an actual condition called codependent. Now, codependency, it sounds like, oh yeah, you know, codependency is just like, you know, I know the irony. Bree and I have discussed this actually, the irony of this condition, because our little gang in university, we called ourselves the codependents because we were together all the time. But it's an actual thing, and what it is, it usually comes from kids that, or when you've had a traumatic childhood and you haven't felt like you're given the nurturing that you need at a very young age. What happens is you look externally for it. And having grown up in a very toxic, dysfunctional environment, I didn't realize that what I was doing was, it's a coping mechanism that kids have. they look externally for approval because kids need approval. You know, adults should be emotionally mature enough to not need it, but kids need approval and encouragement, and if they don't get it, they will look outside for it. So that's probably a part of my psyche that didn't develop properly, but I'm more aware of it now, and I'm getting so much better at setting better boundaries and you know, weeding out those. Whereas before I was like, oh, I can't weed anyone out because then I'll have no. And that's another thing about codependence. Like it's real fear of abandonment. So they become people pleasers because they're scared that they'll be abandoned and then they'll have nobody, and that's terrifying for a codependent, right?
Yeah. Imagine how we felt when you said you're going to Perth.
How did you feel, Jason? You know what? No, because I know what you said to Nigel. Do you know what this guy, viewers, my partner in True Colours, what he said when I was leaving to go interstate? He goes, "That's all right. Don't see her that much anyway."
That is something I would
What kind of a comment is that?
That's my sense.
But you rang me. But do you know what? You rang me all the time, and of all my friends, this is the truth. Of all my friends, Jason Clare is the one who keeps in contact the most.
What am I going to do? You're one of my best friends, man. So, you know, I've got to keep in contact.
Yeah. You don't want fear of abandonment, mate.
No, well, I've only got about 5 friends left. I've all too much.
5 friends. I'll tell you what, if someone can say they've got 5 friends, like 5 real friends, you're winning, man. You are winning.
Yeah, there's this, I think there's this, let me bring it up. Interestingly enough, while we're talking about friendship and happiness, how many friends? 1,500 people who you could put a name to a face.
1,500? Who wants 1,500 friends?
Yeah, 500 acquaintances, 150 friends. Like, that's like someone you would probably go to dinner with, I imagine.
Yeah.
50 close friends.
That's pretty good.
15 good friends.
Yeah.
And then 5 known as the intimates. Sally, are we Sally? Sally, are we intimate?
We are not. We are not intimate. Don't even say it. All right? Don't even say that, man.
What a weird thing to call your 5 closest friends.
Oh, they could have. Oh, next question. I think we need to move on.
The last time we made love via talking, Sally.
Intimates. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there you go. Intimates. Anyway, so how did we get there? We were talking about.
We were talking dependence. Your one's happiness. Is it intrinsic, or is it
I
dependent?
think the answer based on the 2 of us, it depends on the person.
Yeah, that's a very good answer, actually. Depends on the person. So if you're in the 15,000, if you're in that bracket, we're okay. If you're an intimate, that can cause some damage.
I think the intimate is the people that you basically tell everything to.
Yeah.
And that literally, when I think about it, like, that isn't a lot of people. And that probably includes your spouse as well.
And it would include your spouse. And you know what? It shouldn't. Even 5, I think, is plenty, because your personal things, life, stuff, whatever, that's private, it's sacred, and it's not to be shared with everyone. No one, I think you have to earn your place in someone's life to, you know, it's a privilege to share someone's private stuff.
That's why I don't trust Nigel. He just told you what I told him, and now it's like full circle.
Yeah.
Intimate. He's out of the intimates.
you know what? Maybe we're. Oh, I wonder if we're still one of his intimate.
Nah,
Oh.
he'll never watch this, so he'll never know.
Okay. Well.
I guarantee you. Because do your friends support your?
Oh, that's next week. That's next week. Oh, I can't wait for that one. All right. But art of happiness. Back to question number 3.
Here's a little trivia. Well, not trivia, something about me.
Yeah.
I've actually read the book called The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama.
Do you know what? I think I have too.
I can't remember it.
I don't know. Or maybe The Art of War.
You gave me The Art of War.
I don't know.
I've still got my bounded Art of War book.
How's this?
Yeah, this is how much of a friend she is. She gives me a book about war, how to be better at war.
And this is how much of a friend I am, listeners. Bought it for him. Bought a copy for myself. We both had that red book.
That was 2 for 1.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No.
It's not really a gift because you bought it and you got one.
No. It wasn't 2 for 1, but I will not deny that I would do a 2 for 1.
One for you, one for me.
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like if there was a 2 for 1, I'm like, oh, actually.
Yeah, I'm basically giving you this gift for free.
Yeah. Or am I getting the one for free? Next week's topic.
No, you're definitely palming off a free copy.
Yeah, probably. So question number 3 is happiness, I'm really interested to know your take on this, mate. Is happiness practiced or is it a mindset?
I think it kind of ties in back to something I was saying before. Well, I did read this. I read books. I did read a book called Mindset. And interesting, going back to something you were saying before, how you talk about the kids and how they said like something down the lines of saying no to them. Like apparently the way that you end up being as an adult has a lot to do with the way that you're both taught and parented to an extent. And there's this statistic around how many times on average hear the word yes versus no, and no is like 3 times the amount of yeses.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So basically what happens is people then fall into 2 different types of mindsets where, so you'll either end up having a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. And what that means as a theory is that someone with a fixed mindset would say, for example, I said to you, Sally, do you believe you could write a TV show? And people with a fixed mindset would be like, the amount of time to go in that, do I have the talent, yada, yada. Whereas someone with a growth mindset would say something like, I don't know how to do it now, but I think I could learn how to pick up the way how to do it so that in the future I'll be able to do it. Yeah, that's probably something I could do.
So less limits on their potential. They've got okay.
And I think that has a lot to do when you talk about mindset of happiness or not, of happy versus not happy, and can it be practiced? And I think that has a lot to do with how someone's raised, like well and truly. I think that
good point.
Because that sets a precedence for what happiness kind of is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
So I think about the opposite side of you explaining your childhood, and I would say for me, mine was basically the opposite. Like
I know. Yeah.
I say this without, I don't know what's the word of saying. Like we're just comparing each other's stories. So my parents were just happily married forever.
They were. Yeah.
I got a really good childhood, and I never was limited by anything, and I think I tried to get they tried to give me as much as they possibly could as well.
Oh,
So
they did. Yeah, they did.
so I feel very privileged that I got that as a parenting experience, because I know how much that has aided me being the person that I am today.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so I think there's a lot to do with that. But I think over time, as you say, I think hopefully I'm not speaking out of school here, but you're now at a stage where you're coming to understand a lot about yourself, a lot more than you ever did.
Yeah.
I don't know what's been the catalyst for that for that happening, but I think the more that you kind of introspect and you kind of try to understand yourself, then you can kind of build out systems to kind of work around that.
Yeah.
Hence why I think most people should be able to find a way of getting to happiness. Like I think I've been chirping along for a while here, but the one thing I will say, there's this guy that I heard, and I think I shared the video with you, Naval Ravikant. He's this like tech investor guy, and he was saying something about how did it go? Something about always chasing many things, or something down that line, in the pursuit of getting something. That's the thing that typically makes you unhappy, because you're not getting it. So rather than focusing on many things, which is unreasonable, choose one thing and go after it hard, because then you're concentrating your efforts. And I was like, oh, that's a really interesting way of looking at it.
It's great. It's really
so
good.
You go, the other things you could possibly do or achieve or whatever it is, whereas rather than having it as a definite thing that you want, just go, there's one definite thing that I want to make happen. And then when you achieve
do it well. Yeah,
and you do a cycle of different things that you want to do.
Yeah. Master that, and then move on to or
and
not.
One of these things of doing could be well and truly learning it, or even practicing, or just to be happy. Like, I don't think that's. I think over time people will realize that they're able to change the way that they think, that the brain is very malleable when you're able to go to different places if you well and truly focus and want to make it happen.
Yeah, but I agree with you 100%, but I think that a lot of that involves having to make pretty big decisions and sacrifice. Like I think if people really want to experience real, true happiness, there's a lot of things they need to get rid of. There's a lot of things in our lives that we just accept right now as just, 2019 way of life that is just, it's rotting our brains, really. And it's not doing much for connection. It's not doing much for relationship. And I think it's affecting happiness in a big way. I mean, depression amongst teenagers at the moment, like that cohort, is at an all-time high. What's different? Screens. And again, I think that's a topic for a whole nother day, because there's so much to talk about there. But you're right. I think people can practice a happier mindset. I think they can, but people aren't willing to give up things like say for example, you and I, we don't watch television. We do not watch television. We refuse to watch television because we both are of the belief that television is just trash. There's nothing, we don't learn anything. It doesn't uplift us in any way. That's not to say that, that's for everyone. Like some things might uplift other people. But my point is, I think there is a tendency amongst people today to just go, oh, I'm going to watch The Bachelor because everyone watches The Bachelor and that's just what you do, right?
I can talk to someone at work tomorrow about it.
Yeah, I can talk to her instead of going, actually, like I personally haven't watched The Bachelor ever because we talked about The Bachelor on the first episode, because I'm like, hang on a minute. Whoa, hang on. Whoa. A dude's given chicks roses for real. That is that actually happening? People are like, yeah, man, it's the best. I'm like, what? Like, just what?
I told you the best part.
Yeah, it's a psychological experiment, really.
No. The best part is the person who doesn't get the rose.
See, I mean, who wants to watch someone's heartbreaking? Who wants to sit there and watch someone being absolutely humiliated? Okay, and that's cool, no judgment. But I'm just saying, for me, that doesn't uplift me. It doesn't encourage me. I learn nothing. I come away being mad at the world. It's just, it doesn't work, right? But I think some people are asleep. They're unconscious of the things that make them feel low. Like, there have been times, not all the time, but there are times I look on Instagram or Facebook or like social media, I come off it and I can feel a dip in my soul. Like, I'm just like, oh, what was that? And, you know, sometimes there might not even be an actual reason why, but there's something about that medium that's not uplifting me. So you go, do I actually need it? Or am I just going, well, everybody's got it, so that's what you do? Instead of sort of actually sitting there and making the assessment for myself and saying, do you really want to be on Instagram? Do you really want to be on Facebook? If yes, why? And if it's not having an adverse effect on you, great. Business as usual. But if it is, you need to look at that and go, okay, do you want to continue down that path, or do you actually want to go for a run?
I think we both have a similar feeling on social media. I just feel like it affects us in different ways.
Oh, and it will affect everybody in different ways because everyone's chemistry is different.
The reason why I stopped using it was because it just made me angry.
What made you angry?
I just people.
So it wasn't their salad bowls that made you angry. It wasn't the picture of their breakfast. No, that didn't make it. Was the actual human beings.
Yeah, it was the whole reason why the platform existed. People, they are the ones who, I don't know. I just got sick of seeing people complain.
Yeah. Next week,
there's
social media, big one, huge. But so anyway, just wrapping up question number 3.
Yeah.
For me, is it practiced? Is it a mindset? Honestly, dude, I think it's both and. I think you raise a really, really substantial point when you say someone's upbringing has an enormous impact on the person that they become. I know a lot of people who have suffered like unimaginable. I have a friend who has been through, the worst possible experience in her life, and you can just see the good person in her, but she's traumatized, and she's traumatized for life, and she has like very extreme reactions about things, and she can be very immature in her responses sometimes. But I look at her and I think, you know what, if that experience didn't happen for her, I am certain she would be different. So I think when we say, is happiness practice or a mindset, it's very easy for people to go, oh, you need to just believe that you're happy and you just need to and it's like,
But that's not what I think. Like, I don't think that's how it works. I don't think it's like a forced feeling. I think learning a lot about your environment is extremely important. Like, surrounding yourself with people who make you feel good. Consuming positive stuff. Yeah, all that stuff I think is just doing things you enjoy.
Yeah, but really enjoy, not what society tells you is enjoyable. Because we've all got that like barometer within ourselves. Like, everyone might be doing something and you go, oh, that's what everyone's doing right now. Everyone's having fun. I should be loving it. Like everybody, like, hey, when I was growing up, for example, even now, everybody loves sport. I can't stand sport, except for Tigers, of course, because Tigers rule. But
and Mike Tyson.
And love you, Mike. You're the bomb.
Sorry, continue. Sports, anti-sports.
Well, I'm not anti-sports. I'm not anti-sports. I'm just not. I don't enjoy it. I'm not built for that. I'm a dancer. I like the performing arts. I'm very much into the humanities, right? So it's very easy to get swept up in that kind of mob mentality, like, oh yeah, what are you talking about, man? Everyone's doing it. AKA the Bachelor.
Everyone's doing the footy right now. Everyone's into it.
The footy's amazing. Footy's amazing. We love the Tigers. So the last question we've got is, I love this question. This is such a good question. Jason, what would you tell your 10-year-old self?
What would I tell my 10-year-old self, or what would my 10-year-old self tell me?
No, what would you now, as a dad and a husband and a grown-up, like an actual grown-up adult person, what would you tell your 10-year-old self?
What would I tell my 10-year-old self?
What advice would you give about happiness?
I would have said to my 10-year-old self, stop being so scared of stuff.
It's good.
Because it's only, you've got to try.
Good.
I think I had a massive fear of failure growing up. So I never went and put 100% into anything that I really tried. And it's probably only been up until like the last, I don't know, 7 years or so where I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Like, why am I not trying?
Yeah.
So I would tell my 10-year-old self to just try everything and don't waste money.
Don't waste money.
I could have been retired by now if I actually lived properly.
Yeah, it's good.
What about you, 10-year-old? What do you
I would tell my 10-year-old self, I would say, girl, you're good at some stuff. Don't let yourself think that you're not, because it doesn't look like the way someone else does it. I would say that, I would say you're not going to get much support or encouragement for the performing arts, because it's not revered as anything valuable in this society. But keep pursuing. Like, do what you want to, like, seriously, you're good at it. Keep going. And I would say that
I've got to interject. You can still do it now, Sally. You can still do it now.
What, with a walking cane? What am I going to do? Geriatric tap? Oh, well, I could if I wanted to.
You could start a new vibe, a Jerry tap.
Jerry tap. Ah! Yep, it's going to be like a new Zumba for seniors.
Zumba for seniors.
Yep.
Yeah. They call them, you know what they call those?
What?
Broken hips.
Look, mine feels half fractured at the moment as we speak. But I would also say, Sal, you're a good person. Don't rely on the validation of those you think are more valuable than you, because they ain't. You've got to, you got to buck up a little bit, and you've got to not believe in yourself. That sounds a little bit wanky. Not believe in yourself, but just
Here you go, full Karate Kid.
Yeah, I'd say watch Karate Kid heaps, which I did anyway, so maybe I wouldn't tell my 10-year-old self that. But I would just say, like, don't be so convinced and persuaded by what others would have you believe. You know what's right, you know what's good for you, and no matter what happens, you have to stand in that.
Did you?
And have the courage to do that, because you'll be surprised when you stand up for yourself. You think you're going to lose people, but I think you actually gain more respect.
Respect.
When you actually do things, as long as you're doing it with grace, you're not doing it aggressively. But I think if you actually stand for what is right for you, and you know what's right for you, you stand in that, and you're not, wishy-washy, I think long term people have more respect for you. And
I think
I would also say, I love this saying. I can't claim it because I heard it. It was Jada Pinkett Smith actually that said this to her daughter or her son. I can't remember, and it's just brilliant. She said, "The aim is not to get people to like you. The aim is to get people to respect you." There's a big difference. There's a big difference. And I think that's brilliant. That is gold. That is gold.
And I think there's also that line. There's like, don't get people to like you, don't get people to respect you, but then there's people who try to get respect too hard and they look like a-holes.
Oh, plenty of them.
Yeah. So
have we conquered what it is to be happy, mate? Do you think we've done it?
I think we've spoken about I guess how it's well and truly different for all different people. Like life circumstances make things differently, but I think over time, people, whatever circumstance they're in, can whether it's practice it or understand what it is. It's probably not practicing it, but more understanding what it is for you.
Yeah, good. I love that. Understanding what it is for you. Yes. Yes, that's good. That's quite profound. You really have been reading the Dalai Lama.
I'm a modern day philosopher, if you didn't know. Yeah. the guy who does not care.
Yeah. That's good.
Yes.
I love
happiness. What do you reckon? Happiness.
Listen, I'm someone who has a naturally joyful spirit. I know that I'm a naturally happy person. Do you know what? How funny is this? One of the school mums, speaking of happiness, right? One of the school mums said to me, my children attend a Christian school, beautiful Christian school, and the children are taught to pray a lot during like every day. It's a part of their life. My friend Crystal tells me yesterday, she goes, "Oh, do you know my son Sebastian, who's 10? You know my Sebastian prays for you a lot." I'm like, "Me? Why?" He goes, "Mum, she's too happy. It's not natural."
Praying for you to be less happy.
She's too happy. It's not natural. Isn't that cute? Like,
that's the best compliment that you've ever got.
Yeah, well, in the way that he was sort of like, "Is she okay, Mum?" Because she's happy a lot. Like it was a concern. I thought that was really sweet. That a 10-year-old boy would see me and go, "She's a bit too happy. Hope she's all right." Isn't that sweet? Shout out Sebastian. Good boy.
Oh, Seb in the house.
Seb's in the house. We love you, Sebs.
All right. Well, I think that's happiness. We've solved the world's happiness crisis right in about 55 minutes.
Do you know what happiness is for me?
What's that?
Being friends with you.
Oh, me too. Making a podcast about happiness.
Do you know what makes me really happy? Making a
What?
podcast with an intimate.
They should have just called it the Intimates Podcast.
Oh, no, we're not doing
No.
that. That's not happening.
I do have an idea that I need to talk to you about, but we won't do it on the podcast itself.
Okay.
So on that note,
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, episode number 4, we're happy.
And like Bobby McFerrin said, don't worry, be happy.
Can you do the whistle?
He didn't whistle.
Don't worry, be happy now.